All right, everyone. Wednesday, 11-ish on a beautiful morning here in Europe. Got some beautiful questions for today. Let's bring them on and crush some souls. Here we go.
Hi everyone. So we got two questions this week. The first one is there kind of like an overview of all the equipment one needs and kind of like where to start, where to finish, what should we consider, etc.
Mhm. So the cool thing is, I'm flipping the script. So because usually, when writing a programming for somebody who wants to start training or has been training for a couple of years, no matter what, it's gonna entail some sort of deadlift, squat, push, pull, whatever. Awesome, great, fine. I want to flip the script and reverse it because the equipment and exercises should fit your goals and not the other way around. So there's no goal in deadlifting. Um, um, the question is, what do you need? So I've developed an equipment hierarchy. I call it the WET WET skill roadmap, and I categorize equipment and exercises based on that. So WET means weight bearing. So that means how much weight is actually on your spine. So the difference between, I don't know, like a yoke on your shoulders, or there's a lot of weight on your spine actually, or a barbell on your spine, on your shoulders, compared to, for example, a Sempex squat, Sempex front squat, where you hold the weight either in front, but it's not actually directly on your spine. So the more weight bearing on your spine, the more technical the exercise is, and the more technical the equipment is. Chances are this is not stuff that I want to start with, um, for obvious reasons. So that's the W. The E is the eccentric contraction. So that means how much eccentric contraction is in the exercise, in the equipment used. Quick example, if you compare, let's train our legs today. Let's compare a sled sprint with a 10 rep max barbell back squat, right? Both are for the legs, both are for whatever muscles you want to train. The big difference is on the sled, there's almost zero eccentric contraction. So you're sprinting. Of course, there's some eccentric contraction while you're sprinting too, but it's not loaded from the top. There's no weight bearing on your spine. So that means you're not going to be almost zero sore the next day, right? That's the downside of soreness. Soreness can be a good indicator of stuff that we've used, but soreness could also be counterproductive. If you're doing a 10 rep max back squat or 20 rep max back squat, you're going to be fucking sore as hell the next day. And that's mainly because of the eccentric portion. As a start, I want to get rid of as much eccentric contraction as possible and focus on stabilizing and producing. So stabilizing is isometric and producing is concentric. Cool. That's the E. The T is WET is tension towards the outside. So the higher the tension towards the outside from the equipment and from the exercise, the higher the skill required. So let's take an example. Again, the barbell back squat where the weight, like the weight plates, are on the outside. So that means outside of your body. That means the weight is going to drive it towards the outside, and you're going to create tension towards the outside naturally, automatically, however you want to call it. On the contrary, if you grab a sandbag, you're going to create tension towards the inside naturally because you have to grip it, you have to do ABCD. So the higher the tension towards the outside, the higher the eccentric contraction, and the higher the weight bearing on your spine, the more technical, the more skill required for equipment and exercise. So that's how I base equipment and exercises that you have to use or you can use exclusively based on this. So it's not on, okay, I have to take the deadlift. No. The deadlift is not the go-to because it's very high on all three. Actually, it's not high on three, it's high on two because there's no weight bearing on your spine. But it's still a high technical skill because there's a lot of eccentric contraction in there. And obviously, the weight is going to bring it towards the outside first, right? So that's how we created the hierarchy for our positions and for the tension we need. So each big bone, that means the hips and the shoulder blades, the pelvis and the shoulder blades, have certain functions, And based on that, I've developed a hierarchy where you want to start and where you want to finish with stuff. That way, there's no religious debate about whether a barbell squat or a Sempex squat or a goblet squat with a kettlebell or lunges are better or worse. It depends on your goals, where you are, and where you want to improve towards. Most people don't need the barbell to actually reach their goals. So why start with it in the first place? So that's how I created the equipment hierarchy. We have it for the pelvis, so bring your pelvis forward and bring your pelvis back. We have it for the shoulder blades, bring stuff towards your spine and away from your spine. And super simple, start with the bottom equipment and exercises and move your way towards up. You can forget the last 5 minutes that I've just talked about, because in the templates, this is all done. This is prepackaged. There's only equipment and exercise in there that are at the bottom. So you can immediately start with, so you don't have to think about it for a minute. Just do the templates, do the exercises, watch the videos, and you're good to go.
And based on that hierarchy, if I start at the bottom and I kind of like want to work my way up until up to the highest kind of like skill exercises, on the one hand, like how much time does someone like a normal person should kind of like expect until they reach that point? Or is that even something that can be answered? And on that path, how do I know that, okay, you owned that step, you can move on to the next one?
Okay. The answer is 172 days. That's a lie. You can, that's not on me. That's something in the fitness world that everybody expects. Like I don't know, and I can't know. I have certain experiences. I know how long people take, like wherever they are, like from one pull up to 10 on average. But that doesn't matter because it's about you, and there's stuff that I cannot influence, and where I need you. What is you? It's two factors. First is time. I cannot do time for you. I cannot decide for you how often you're going to show up at the gym. That's one part. And the second part is I cannot influence how much you're going to put into it and how fast you learn. Right. So that's I can pave the way. I can prepare the way for you. You can do all the fancy equipment. You can do all the fancy equipment hierarchy stuff. You can do all the templates. But there's still two things that I cannot do for you: how much time you're going to invest, and how, what do we want to call it, how intense, how dedicated you're going to learn what is needed to be learned. And that should relieve both sides. So you as a coach, you have not 100% in your hands to make your client happy. And dear client, you don't have 100% in your hands to make yourself happy. So that sounds like a really good relationship, because I can influence stuff that you're not good at, and you can influence stuff that I cannot for you, which is, again, time and your whatever capacity to learn, the speed you're going to learn, the rate of learning, whatever you want to call it. So obviously there's no answer for how long stuff is going to take, but it doesn't matter. We have certain benchmark, so you know where you're at the moment. So for example, for the templates, we have level 1 benchmarks where you have a goal, right? For a Sempex front squat, X and Y% of your body weight for X and Y% amount of reps. So that's a pretty good indicator for, okay, your body is now structurally prepared for moving up the equipment hierarchy chain, right? Again, this is not a 1 or 0 decision. It's a benchmark, and it's a very good indicator if you're ready to move up the equipment ladder. It's not perfect, can't be perfect, but maybe you don't have to move towards squatting with a barbell if you're training twice a week and your goal is just to be fit for life. There's no need to do it. If you want to move forward, like I love it. I love the barbell. I love powerlifting. We have level 2 benchmarks where, let's say your goal is a whatever barbell back squat 250 kilos, right? Underneath that, we have certain structural exercises like the yoke carry, certain benchmarks that we know you have to hit. Otherwise, you're going to break doing barbell back squats, right? So this is the best insurance we can give you, but still, this is not on us in 100% of our responsibility if you're going to do it or not. I need you, I need your time and your capacity to learn and your speed of learning. If we work together, we can make it work.
And if now someone likes what they hear, they like your content, they like what you put out, they like the concept that you offer, um, where is like the basic starting point?
Okay, take action. If you like what I'm doing, if you like what I'm saying, there's no point. Okay, if you want to change something in your life, you need three things. You need some knowledge. I hope I can provide some of it to you. You need a lot of action. That means you need to actually do stuff, and you need a reward for it. Those three components are needed for actual change, right? Okay, so knowledge. Okay, read the book, watch the videos, do the templates, just get started and do something. It doesn't matter how much. It doesn't matter how many reps you're gonna do. You have to do something consistently, right? Okay, cool. Knowledge and action. The third one is you have to get a reward for what you're doing. Otherwise, you will stop doing it. And the reward is super simple in training. Is either you're losing some weight, so you're measuring on a scale, you're either getting stronger, so you're measuring this by, I don't know, doing more reps, doing more weight. But this needs to happen. Otherwise, you're going to quit because you convinced yourself to learn something. You convinced yourself, and that's tipping my hat to you. You convinced yourself to do something and to do something differently, which is awesome. And if you're not getting a reward for it, guess what? You're not going to come back, right? So that's something that we really need in our training. Get back to is okay. We need certain numbers and certain testing stuff that we have to shoot towards, right? This is not going to define your life, and a lot of people are hesitant to actually think about goals because they could fail reaching those goals. We're going to make realistic goals and we're going to set small realistic goals. So you have like 6, 12, 18 week successes. This is super simple. Again, otherwise, you're going to stop training. If you have that 250 back squat goal down the line, which is going to probably take whatever 10 years, you're not gonna find motivation or discipline for 10 years. Very few people do to reach for that high goal, right? And it's going to take 10 years or maybe 15 or maybe 20. So what if we do like 6-week goals and then 12-week goals and 18-week goals, which could be as small as, okay, my goal for the first 6 weeks is I want to show up twice a week. No, this is not hilarious or embarrassing. No, this is probably where we have to start. Okay, prove to yourself that you can show up twice a week for 6 weeks. That's it. Okay, if you can do that, we can add another small goal on top of it for the next 6 weeks, which could be, I don't know, something along the lines of 3 ring rows, 5 ring rows at a certain height, certain difficulty level, bringing your shoulder blades together and keeping your shoulder blades down. Right? We're gonna see where we're at on day one, and we're gonna test it. Testing just means okay, observing where you are, and giving you a reward for the hard work you put in those 6 weeks. That's it. Okay, we'll take up another goal. We'll take up another box. Great. And then we just continue doing this and we're all good. I love big goals, but you have to set realistic, small step, 6 week, 12 weeks, maybe 18 weeks goals that you can actually hit, but it's still hard to reach, right? Because if the goal is too easy, it's like, and you have reached it in like two days or 2 training sessions. All right, that's a reward either. That's eating ice cream and feeling good about it.
From a programming standpoint, do you recommend for someone who, for instance, says like, after 6 weeks, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, like for instance, 5 pull-ups. Would you then recommend in those weeks leading up to that 6 week to also incorporate some testing measures, or is that more like personal preference, or have you had kind of like seen like an overly kind of like a scheme, like what people usually respond to well?
Okay, I think that's the main issue with people not liking testing. If you're testing stuff too often, you're gonna get obsessive about it.
What
That
do you
means let
mean with too often?
that means if you're trying to measure or test your pull-up in every single session, like you forget about the work you have to put in and just try to do a couple of pull-ups every single session. No, no, no. This is our goal. Then we're gonna put in 6 weeks of work. You don't have to test it in between. And
Mm,
after 6 weeks, I want to know, okay, where I'm at with my pull-ups,
mm,
right? Because otherwise you forget, because we're talking about testing so often, but there's a three-headed monster in this. This, you have to learn something, then you have to train your ass off, and then you have to test. Learning is like 10%, testing is like 10%, and
mm,
80% is working your ass off. That's what happens in those 6 weeks in between, right? Don't interrupt the process of actually doing the work by testing all the time, right?
mm,
Um, and this is the maybe not the most fancy stuff. This is the the training for pull up is the Chinese rows in those 6 weeks, the rope pulls in those 6 weeks, the push ups in those weeks, the dips in those weeks, the lat pull downs in these weeks, the carries in those weeks. Like that's the actual stuff that needs to happen in all those whatever 12 training sessions within those 6 weeks, and you don't have to test your pull up. Set
mm,
the goal, do the work. 80% of the time is working, training, and then you're just gonna test it in the last session and be pleasantly surprised about what you can achieve in 6 weeks, right?
mm,
Um, that's hard for us humans to focus on something like a big goal, but
mm,
unfocus on it so you can do the actual work that's necessary. Um, I know that sounds weird because we think we have to be focused all day, every day, and every hour of the day on my pull up goal, but that's not the case. You have to realize, okay, this is my programming. These are the 10 exercises that I have to get better at. And you need capacity and space over here to learn those things, and you cannot focus on the pull up.
mm,
This is the same as okay, let's say you're a pilot and you have to fly from Vienna to Los Angeles. It's a whatever 10 hour flight, right? Okay, you take off and you can focus on, okay, what am I going to do in Los Angeles when I bring that plane hopefully safe back down. That's not going to happen, right? Okay, the next step is, okay, I have to get that plane off the airport of Vienna. Okay, what I'm gonna do when it's ascending, what I have to do when I put the autopilot on, what I have to go. There's a checkbook of things I have to do, and at the end, yes, you're gonna focus back again on getting the plane safe down in Los Angeles,
mm,
right? So forget about Los Angeles, forget about your 5 pull-ups, and focus on, okay, what is the next step that I have to do in my next training sessions on the Chinese rows? I have to bring my shoulder blades together. I have to keep my shoulder blades down. I have to do A. I have to do B. This is what I'm focusing on right now. And I think that's what people are so scared about testing, because they think you're going to be tested every single
mm,
session. No,
yeah,
we're not going to test you every single session. Go, work, and now we're going to test you 6 weeks out.
gotcha.
All right. Cool questions. Bring them on. Love it. See you soon. Maybe in Los Angeles. Have a good one.